Hello paper crafters, I'm Sunny Sky and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. This is the project that we're making today. It's a gel card, and I also have a cling wrap watercolor technique that I did in video number 50, which is the video right before this one if you'd like to take a look at that technique, and we're going to use one of those sheets today to make this card. And on the inside of the card we have a lighter color of cardstock. This is Soft Sky and Tranquil Tide, which is one of the new in colors, and I just stamped the fish inside and simply did the fish again on the envelope. So we're going to work on this card today, but I thought I'd just show you a few more cards I've done with this stamp set. These are two other fish gel cards that I did. These are kind of poofy. You can see this one is really quite puffed up, and I think I didn't zip it closed all the way and some air has gotten in. It's been sitting. It's been a couple months since I've made this one. So one thing about this card is it does make it a little bit thicker, so if you're going to mail this card, you do want to protect it on the outside and add some extra postage. And something like this poofy I would not try to put in an envelope. It's probably just going to get wet all over the whole card. So I've used the fish for this. This is the set, Jar of Love, and there is a coordinating Framelits die set. And this is really versatile. We've used the fish today, but I've also done a couple other cards with this set and these Framelits. Here's one that I did. This was video number 44 where I did this, and we did this vellum jar underneath, and you've got some flowers coming out of this card. And then also here's one, there's a little circular image in that set that can just be like some jawbreakers or something like that. So this is again some of the new paper that we have in the new catalog, and a new little embellishment that we have, the little gift tag. This is not going to be very mailable, so better if you're putting this card with an actual gift, maybe a gift of candy. That would be handy. And if you like this set, in the new catalog, in the back inside cover, is our Ronald McDonald set, which we have one every year with every catalog, and this coordinates with these Framelits and has some different images, some butterflies and strawberries and just some different things. So if you enjoy this set, here's another one that will go right along with it if you are interested in that. So let's go on to today's card. Here's all the cardstock we're using for this project. This is the cling wrap watercolor technique that's on video number 50. And also this is the size where you get 5 from 1. And so you can watch that video, which is number 8, if you don't know how to do that. Get 5 sheets from 1 piece of cardstock. We're going to use 2 of these Soft Sky layers. And then this is Tranquil Tide. This is the full card. And I've just cut it so that it folds down long ways, and a lot of times you have it folding the other direction, but I just chose to do that today. Now this little tag is when you take a half a sheet of cardstock and cut it for this layer here, if you go ahead and cut the end off, since these are 4 inches, you only need 8, and this is 8.5 inches wide, you're going to get a 1/2 inch strip. I've used that to make this little piece that we're going to do the tag later. I've already punched a hole and done a little corner round ring there. But we're going to make a tag out of that. But I didn't want to forget to tell you that I just made that out of the scraps from here. This is, white glossy cardstock, and I put that technique on it. So the first thing I like to do with this card, normally I put my layers on my cards later, but this time we're going to put the layers on first because we're going to use them to line some stuff up. And I'm getting out a new piece of Snail, or new cartridge of Snail. So I just thought I'd show you this. When you run out of adhesive, you just take the front off and you save this part. And then when you get the refill, which is a little cheaper than getting the whole thing, it's just going to pop right into that first item there. Just pop this down. Now because this card is heavy on the front, I'm going to put more adhesive than I usually do. I just want to make sure that it sticks really good. So for my front layer, I'm going to put this on. And I'm putting this layer on now because we're going to line up our watercolor cardstock with that one. Now on the inside, I'm just going to put my 2 strips along the longest 2 sides. And that's how much adhesive I usually use for cardstock. We just need a little extra here. I've got this small jewelry bag. This is my gel for my gel card. And just any kind of cheap dollar store hair gel. You just want something that has some color to it and not something that's clear. Let me get that down to the front. And then I'm just going to squirt maybe a little bit more than a teaspoon in there. Probably not as much as a tablespoon worth of liquid, because I don't want it to be too thick. I just need a little bit of the color in there. And let me just squeeze out some of the air. Let me get it mostly closed. I'm going to use Stazon because I'm using the silver foil sheets for these two images. This is the lid of the jar, and then also there's a little handle image. And just be careful when you are stamping on the foil, because it's slicker than regular cardstock. You want to make sure that your image is not slipping. And when you're stamping with this Stazon, you have to re-ink your Stazon pads a little more often, because this is a solvent ink pad. It's going to dry quicker than a dye-based ink pad. So your pad dries out a little more, and you've got to replace or re-ink just a little more often. Now I've got my Big Shot here, the magnetic platform, one cutting pad. Because I have a handle that I'm doing on this jar, I want to make this die go down a little bit towards the bottom of the card. I need room below for my shaker card to keep it in place, but I need room for the handle up above as well, so it's not centered on that cardstock. And then I'm just going to put these dies over my lid and this little handle. And you could probably do this handle without stamping the handle in black, because it's a thin silver strip there. That would be fine. Make sure that's still pretty good. Yep. And just run this through the Big Shot. Comes out the other side and everything is cut through. Save this for another project. And this is the part we're using today. Okay, so I forgot to hit the record button during part of this video, so we're redoing. So I've cut everything on the Big Shot. You saw that with the other piece of the technique sheet, and we're using this one since I forgot to tape this part. So I have gone ahead and put my layers on the card, and also on the inside. Extra adhesive on the front because we've got this heavy gel card going on. And we're going to stamp the fish on the inside. Oh, that's terrible. Let me try it again. Yeah, he's a little off, but he looks a little like he's got some movement, doesn't he? We'll say that anyway. Okay, and then we're going to do this batik sheet, this cling wrap watercolor technique. If you just lay that down, no adhesive, just lay it where it's going to end up. We're going to stamp our jar through here so that we see the jar behind the gel bag that we are making. Just stamp it right through that hole, and we know it's going to be lined up in the right spot because we have already cut this. And this also helps us stamp our fish where we want him in the jar. Alright, so stamp our fish here. He's a little off to the side, but then he can be swimming forward. So I also have this little sheet here. We're going to do the best fishes on this little tag. I've already rounded the end and punched a hole in it. And I put it through a circle punch. I made several of them, and so that's why you see the rounding on this end. I just made it longer than I needed to be, just so that I would have plenty of room. And I'm just slicing down the center, and then I'm going to make my little flags come off the edges here. If it was a wider piece, I would use that triple banner punch, which is great for this, but since it's narrow, I just hand did it there. So here's our little jewelry bag. You can get it at your local craft store. Open it up pretty good so that you get the so your gel can go inside. This is just from the dollar store. Cheap hair gel. You just want something with some color to it. If you just had clear gel, you wouldn't be able to see it very well in the card. So I'm putting not a tablespoon, but more than a teaspoon's worth in here. just going to seal that up. Not all, I'm going to try and get most of the air out of it so it's flat, so our card is not too dimensional here. And clean off any liquid that I've gotten on the outside. Alright, so when you press it down, you may think you don't have enough in there, but you really don't need any depth. You just need enough to get kind of those air bubbles and that texture in that gel piece. So now take your cutout window, flip it over. This bag is just the right size to fit under there, so you have to line it up to make sure you've got everything where it needs to be. And then I'm going to use these foam adhesive strips as my tape. So when you think of taping something down, you want your adhesive strip to cover some of the bag and some of this cardstock behind, because you're trying to hold it in place. Not only is it lifting this up to give room for that gel bag, but it's holding it in place. So you need the ends of it, although it's on the gel bag, to be out on the cardstock. Now these foam adhesive strips are some that I just cut a package in half. So it's the full length, it's just half of the full length is the perfect length for this card front. I want my whole card front to be popped up, so I'm going to put down the length of each side. And then since this is not at the top of the card, I'm going to put some up there as well, just to leave it consistent. Peel the backing off, and then we'll just line up. It's hard to remember which ones I've already taken the backing off until I touch them and they stick to me. Okay, so I've peeled the backing off from all of these strips, and now I just have to line it up. And remember, we've already lined it up before when we were stamping it, so it should be easy to just put it right in place, and you know that your image is going to show up behind there. Now for this handle and the lid, I'm also going to put the foam dimensional strips on them as well. This is not really, the handle is not thick enough to hide all of this, but that doesn't matter. Just put it near the top of the bottom handle. You don't want it coming out of the bottom, but it's okay if it shows up at the top because the lid is going to be in front of that. And then on the lid, I'm going to do it near the top of the lid because I want it to adhere to the card and not to the handle, just to help it be a little more secure. So this handle comes down almost to the bottom part of the rim there. And that is adhering to the gel bag, so that's another reason we want to get our gel bag kind of secure, because it needs to stay in place. And then this handle and lid are kind of stuck to the gel bag more than to the front of the card. Now this is open, it's not attached up at the top here. We're going to apply our little tag up there. So I have some thick baker's twine. You can also use regular baker's twine or any kind of just thin ribbon that would match the colors you're using in your card. I'm just going to do a little knot, a little double knot here. And then I just took the end and just untwisted a little bit to give it a little bit of distressed look. Alright, and then this is the new Tranquil Tide finely woven ribbon. It's about a 1/2 inch wide. Here I've done a little knot, but I decided that that was too thick. So I took some of this ribbon and I just cut it in half. Just sliced up the center of the ribbon. So there is a side and a middle here. There's a little bit of fraying, and the other side has its little seam there, but I really think it's going to be fine. I'm just going to cut a little short bow off there. I am going to trim off that little bit of that one that's sticking out, and get a mini glue dot here. Oh, I've already got them out. Now the glue dot is a little bit bigger than this knot since I narrowed up the ribbon, but I'm just going to fold part of that behind itself so it doesn't show. And I'm just going to put it up there on the handle near that other dot of ribbon. So that's our card. let's see, we've got our other ones. Here's the one that I finished when I thought I was on video, and I really wasn't, with that bit of darker paper on the front there. And the first one I did to show you at the beginning of the video. So that's the card for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to share this video with a friend, shop on my website, subscribe to this channel, and have some fun crafting today.